Hello everyone, welcome to the first stream on this channel. I hope that you are doing good today. I'm just having some issues with the camera, because it certainly was working before. There are just some issues with that, so I will try to fix that. Let me know if you can hear me and if the quality is good. Hopefully I'll be able to fix that. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I will just try to unplug it probably. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you should be able to see me now. Great. Are you doing good today? Can you hear me and see everything well? I will just try to... Okay, so I hope that everything is working alright. I also try playing some music. Hopefully it's not going to be too loud for you, just in the background. And today we'll be working on a Udemy course that I'm working on. If you are not sure what that is, it will be a course about different programming patterns. In total I will have 20 of them. And yeah, that's what I want to teach on the Udemy. Hopefully it's going to go well. It's a pretty big project, because I'm planning to prepare 4 bigger projects. And then in these I'm going to show you how to incorporate all of the design patterns. And yeah, I will just try to turn the music a bit down so it's not too loud. Okay, so let's get to that. I will open my Unity where I have the course. I've already been working on it for a bit. So as I said, I want to split into 4 different projects. Just going to close this down. So I have the notes for the project, and I want to have 4 small games, where in each one of them I will then show you how to use different 5 patterns. So right now I'm working on the turn-based game, which is what I have here. So you have just some simple characters. We'll be able to choose one of the characters and set an action for the character, and then attack to one of the enemies. So the patterns I'm planning to be using in this turn-based game is going to be the command pattern, which will work for just commanding what the players should do. So then you will also have the ability to revert the commands if you want. So you can queue up some of the commands for all of the different characters. And if you notice that you did something wrong, you can just revert, which is pretty useful in this case. And it will also allow us to then sequentially execute the commands, so that first the player is going to select commands for the characters, and then the enemies are going to do some AI logic. They are also going to choose commands they want to execute, and they will just execute one by one with some delay and so on. We are also going to have some states, which will be just for the enemy AI. It's pretty straightforward. The one pattern that I have not been using yet, so I will be just learning it for this project, is the chain of responsibility, which is what it says. It's chain of responsibility. So how this is going to work, that when we are going to be dealing some damage to the enemies, there is a chance that the enemy could have some shield or some armor. So in the long chain, we are first going to check, does the enemy have a shield? Then we are going to check, does it have the armor? And finally, if it doesn't have any of these things, we are going to subtract the health. I will also be using the observer, which will be just, for some actions, used to handle leveling up of the player and some other actions. And finally the mediator, which I have not been using yet as well. The next tutorial on YouTube will be the mediator, which will allow us to connect all of the enemies and the player in a nice way, without having too many dependencies between the enemies and the players. So yeah, that's quite fun stuff. I see there's already 3 of you. If you have any questions or if something is not working, just let me know. I feel that you can hear me, as I've been listening to my stream as well. And there's one thing that I'm now considering, which is that I'm not sure whether the course would be maybe too complicated, because I want to have those 4 game examples. So then, before I can start teaching you one of these patterns, we'll first have to do some setup, which I'm not sure if it is the good way to do it, but I wanted to show you some real case examples. So what I've made so far is that I have some scripts for the state pattern. This one is empty for now. We'll have the command. And so far there is really not much going on. If we start playing the game, the only thing that we can do right now is to select some characters. I also seem to be getting some null reference exception, so let's see where that is coming from. So this is what this stream will be about. I'll be just going through the code, fixing some errors, introducing some new features so that you can see how I work, and hopefully you can learn something. If you have any suggestions, what should I change, what I can do better, you can of course let me know, or if you have any questions. That's for what the live stream is. I think I'll just make my camera a bit smaller as it is taking up quite a lot of space. So it's hopefully going to be better. Looking well planned out. Good job. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm just not sure whether it's good to kind of introduce the patterns in a real project. Well, it's probably better, but it's going to be a bit more complicated, since when you show the pattern on some really simple example, it's usually easier to understand, but then you don't really know how to use the pattern in a real case scenario. So as I'll be showing it to you on a real project, you will learn how to connect the patterns together, and also how to adjust the pattern to fit the project, because usually you are not really using the pattern in the purest form, you just need to adjust it to the project. So yeah, I have started introducing some actions, which will be the ones that you'll be able to select for each character. So that's likely where the error is coming from. I also have scriptable objects for the characters, which I don't think I created yet. So let's create a folder for the characters. I will just check the enemies where I have it there. Yeah, I see the scriptable objects are still not assigned. So let's create these scriptable objects for the characters. That's really nothing complicated. Right now I have just the list of the actions from which each of the enemies will be able to choose from, or just the players. The enemies will have different actions. So we have the characters. I will add a folder for the actions. So let's add some of these. Character action. Let's make just a mini attack. So I have some sprite for the icon that's going to be showing above. And with the actions, I'm not planning anything crazy. I will just have some different types of the actions. So attack, defend, switch position, maybe something else. Maybe explain both the way and then show it how to use in real life scenario. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about as well. That first I will definitely explain the pattern. I will just use the diagram as well and explain how it's going to be working. And I was thinking that I could even show you a simple example of where you can use the pattern, but if you would really calculate it as for how much time it would take, I'm planning to teach about 20 patterns. So if for each pattern I would want to show the simple example, that would take, let's say, 10 minutes. So we have 20 patterns multiplied by 10 minutes of video. That will already be 200 minutes of just video recorded. Or not recorded, it will be even the final video will be about 200 minutes. And if I also want to add some more deeper examples like this one I'm creating right now, this could take, I don't know, one of the examples could take, well, there's multiple patterns inside of one example, so it could take, let's say, 100 minutes just for one example. So then in total it could be, I don't know, 600 minutes, which actually seems kind of reasonable for a course. That's 10 hours, which that's something I'm planning for. About 10 hours of finished footage on the Udemy. Yeah, I will see how it goes. First, I want to finish at least a few of these projects, and I'm planning that I could also first release kind of half of the course. That's what I have also seen from CodeMonkey, that he releases just bigger part of the course. He lets people to try the course, and then he adds some more stuff as time goes. Because to create the course, it could take me something about, I don't know, 5 to 10 months. Because obviously I don't have infinite time for it. Anyways, let's get back to the attacks we have. So let's create more of these actions. We have the melee attack, we could have ranged attack, we could have defend. What else? I have the switch position. And let's define all of these. Switch position, ranged, that will also be attack. And defend will be defend. I don't have these icons yet. That's something I'll worry about later. Now we can assign the actions to the characters. So Archer is going to be able to have the ranged attack, and it can, let's say, switch position. Let's create one for the knight we have, or whatever that is. I have this one, this guy with the 2 blades, which, how is that one called? Thief, peasant. Okay, so let's call him Thief as well. And this one could have melee attack. Okay, switch position, this works as well. Finally, we can have the soldier. Just going to have melee attack. And maybe this one can only, let's say, have the defend. So it's not going to be able to switch the position. And now let's get to displaying of the actions. So in the canvas, I have the action selection parent, which just has the horizontal layout group. So under it, we can simply group some UI elements. So if we, let's say, add an image, it's going to be easily grouping like this. And I already have a prefab for the action button, which again, this is nothing crazy, just a gray square with the white square and the button. I think now it would be useful to search for some of the icons so that we have something to show. So let's quickly go to Asset Store and search for something. So let's do, I know there are some packs called RPG icons. I think there's really a ton of them. Those cost something, so let's search only for the free. We are low budget. So I think this one, well, I don't really need RPG icons, I more need some action icons. We have some spells. That's also not something that I need. I have been using this one. Maybe this one looks pretty good. We seem to have some swords. We have the shield stuff, daggers. Yeah, this looks pretty good. Let's use that one. This is just me, but what I always watch is how many hours on course provide you. I wouldn't buy something that's rushed around 10 hours. Consider well-explained course. Yeah, I think the same way, that usually YouTube videos are what it's a bit shorter. I try to explain it a bit quicker so that, you know, people can watch it, don't have to spend too much time on it, and can grasp the concept pretty quickly. But really, if you want to go deeper and you want to learn more about the design patterns, but also about game development in general, then really the course has to be just longer. Because if you rush it, then, yeah, as you are saying, it's just not going to be worth it. Yeah, more is definitely better. I have been reading some of the reviews of the course on the Udemy, and yeah, usually what the people have been complaining about was that the course was just too easy. But I think if you make it too hard, then also people will be complaining, because some beginners are going to buy the course and some professionals can buy it. So I think that always you'll have someone complaining about the course. Yeah, I just try to clearly state from the beginning that it is not a total beginner course. It's going to be, let's say, intermediate. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's download this one. For some reason I'm having some issues with the asset store. When I click open in Unity, it doesn't actually open it, which is weird. So let's go into the package manager. Let's go to my assets. Let's refresh that. Plans. Let's go by the purchase date. We have the icons. Hopefully stream is not going to crash as I download this. I have pretty solid connection, so that should be okay. Okay, let's import that. When you're importing some packages, it's quite useful to go through the stuff that you really need. In this case, I don't think that I will need the prefabs for that, because I will be just using only the images. Pre-made rarities, I'm not sure what that is. I can see it here. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Oh, I'm not sure if I need that. I think I'll just use maybe one of these colors, because there's too many of them. So let's exclude that as well. Showcase, I don't need. Icon elements, I think that I will use all of these. Background, X. Okay, let's import. Another thing that's quite nice to do when you have the project is to split into two parts, where one is for the plugins or the packages you are using, and the second part should be for things you made. So typically you have the packages folder, where it's nice practice to put all of the packages you download, so you know where to find them. And yeah, that's a place where you should have stuff that you didn't make. Okay, these icons are pretty good, so let's drag them into the actions we have. So for defend, I'm not sure, it was like shield. Yeah, shield icon. This one, melee attack, we can use the daggers icon. I know that there was also this one, looks pretty nice. Ranged attack, this one, switch position. We don't have really anything for switch position. Let's use, what could we use? Maybe I will just add some arrow for now. Let's use, I don't know, let's use the cloud, why not? It's always better to start with something. It doesn't have to be perfect. So yeah, that's for the scriptable objects. We have assigned them to the characters. And the next thing should be the code, because I haven't really written much code for that, I don't think. So here I have the action selector, where, oh, I'm already doing that. Yeah, I'm instantiating all of the buttons for the actions, changing the sprites, and adding a listener that's going to perform some action on the character. So yeah, we call the function onPlayerSelected from the character selector. That is here. We select the character, we pass it in, we get all of the actions from the scriptable object, and then based on that we just instantiate all of the buttons we need. Let's see whether that is working somehow. I think I already assigned that, yeah. What type of course? Yeah, that will be about the programming patterns, which is what I'm focusing on right now. So I will be teaching about 20 of them, which I know is quite a lot. I also have the list here in my notes. So it will be the command, state, chain of responsibility, observer, mediator, decorator. Most of these are the kind of classic design patterns that the Gang of Four has kind of thought about together. I excluded some of these. I'm trying to use only the patterns that are really kind of useful for game development. So I've tried to come up with some very nice examples for each of the patterns where I think it's going to fit the pattern the most. But still I haven't learned about some of these patterns, so yeah, it's going to be also useful for me because I will learn about them. Hello, I'm not sure how to read your name, but yeah, you are all welcome here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You can also tell me how you are doing today, if anything interesting happened, if you are working on any projects, that would be nice to hear. Yeah, I'm still getting some errors. Action selector, the actions, but yeah, I just didn't assign these scriptable objects. When you have some null reference exception error, it usually tells you the line on which it is. Most of the time, the line is correct, but sometimes the line on which it tells you that the error is not actually matching to the line where the error is. Sometimes the compiler is just lying a bit, or Unity it cannot really find it correctly, but most of the times it finds the line, and once you have that line, the easiest way to find the null reference exception is that first I go just through all of the things that could be null on the line. So on this line, what can be null? It can be the character base or the character SO or the actions. That's quite a lot of stuff. And yeah, then you just have to go through each of these, check whether this can be null, this can be null, or this can be null. I know that character base is probably not null since I'm passing it into the function, but character SO is probably what is null because I didn't assign it in here. Yep. So I will assign it just to the characters that I have. So let's drag these scriptable objects. The soldier. We have the thief. And the peasant, which is the archer. Let's just rename it. Okay. It should do it. And no more errors. And it is correctly instantiating all of the icons. They are just not being destroyed. This should be a simple issue to fix. It's probably not going to be the most performant because you'll be destroying the objects and then instantiating them again. So we could use some kind of object pooling for that. But I think that this pattern I'm planning to be using, in the tower defense, where it's probably going to be more suited for that, since there will be tons of enemies, tons of bullets. Here, as we just spawn few UI elements, it could be nice to use the object pool pattern, but it's not really necessary. It's not going to hurt the performance so much, so we can really do it simple, that we'll just destroy all of the children. That sounds kind of mean, destroying children, but we'll be destroying children of the action selection. So you probably know about that, but you can simply go through all of the children just by saying transform. This will be the child in, and then just the parent through which children you want to loop. So in this case, I'll be looping through the actions parent. So this is just a quicker way to do it than using the for loop, because you need to access it at the indexes. This is just a bit quicker and more readable, I would say. So we don't have to be checking if the child is null. We can only say child game object destroy, and destroy, that's a function like so that we can use. So I recently switched to the Visual Studio 2022, and yeah, it's really similar to the Visual 2019. It just has the little helper that sometimes is suggesting you something. It's really nothing, it's not too advanced AI. I'm not even sure if it is some AI. Yeah, right now it doesn't want to give me any hints. But sometimes you can see of the grayed out text, so it's suggesting you what you could do. It's not really too advanced, it gives you only some simple hints, but it's quite nice addition. I think that in the writer, which is the other software you can use for the editing of the code, they have the Copilot, which actually should be in Visual Studio as well, but I haven't tried using it yet. Have any of you used it? The Copilot? That sounds quite interesting to me, using the AI to code. Okay, it seems to be working. So we can say the characters, it's displaying the actions. So that seems to work alright. What could we add? Right now I cannot deselect the character, which I don't really think is anything we need to worry about. And we should actually try to select some of the enemy character and then perform the action, which is going to add the command into the command invoker. So yeah, in which script could we do that for selecting of the enemies? Since here, yeah, that's the user to perform the action. I have the character selector, where I have the handy function select character, which is just highlighting them, but this is only highlighting them in the green color. I would also like to highlight them in the red color. And if you're interested in how I made the highlighting that you can see when I'm selecting the characters, this is just a, well, not so simple shader. I probably would not come up with it on my own, but I slightly adjusted it to fit my needs. So it should be, yeah, we have the outline material and the shader itself is in here. This is a shader graph. Even though I haven't been using it much, it's quite intuitive and simple to use. It should be this one, no, this one. Yes, we have a shader like this for highlighting, which I think what it is doing is that it is just sampling the texture. I thought that 4 times, but it seems to be doing it 8 times. Where if you want to make the highlight, you can pretty much copy the sprite, and once you can offset it to the right, you can offset it to the left, offset it above and below, which is kind of going to add the highlight above it. And as you have offsetted those 4 copies of the sprite, you can then kind of put them together. And I think that here they are doing it 8 times because they also want to get the corners. So here they are combining the corner outlines, and there they are combining the outlines, which is just moving horizontally or vertically, making duplicates of these sprites and putting them together and just adjusting the color of that. So actually it doesn't seem to be so hard. And back to selecting of the enemies. In the outline material I can simply select the color. And here I have a function highlight character function, which I think I should be able to reuse for the enemies as well. We'll just need to add the color we want to use. So we'll need variables for the 2 colors. One will be the highlight green color, and second one will be for the red color. Let's make a CVS field, private. It seems to be pretty smart. So highlight, I would maybe call it highlight color green and highlight color red. And then when you are highlighting the character, bool enabled, yeah, because it's also allows us to disable the highlight as well if we need it. So I think we can keep it as it is and just add a parameter for the highlight color. Okay, and we are setting the integer, which is just enabling or disabling the highlight. And the same way we should be able to get the color. So first, yeah, we probably don't have to be checking for the whether it has the color the same way that I'm checking whether it has the integer, because if it has the integer, it's likely also going to have the color. Do you planning to make Bootstrap in Unity for scenes? Yeah, that's something I should probably add to my list. I'm not sure if I already have it there somewhere. Bootstrap, no. Yeah, that's definitely something I could make a video about. You can see there's a lot of stuff in the list. I will add it somewhere to the top since it seems like an interesting topic. So maybe sometime. Bootstrapper. The next video will be about the mediator pattern, which is used when you have multiple objects and you want to communicate them together, but you want to reduce the dependencies. So in our case, let's say we have multiple enemies and players, and if they would need to communicate together, each of them would need to have references to the other players. So this character would need a reference for this character, for this one, for this one, for this one. It should be tons of references. And the mediator is kind of the main object, which is going to receive some requests. So the player will only have a reference to the mediator. It's going to ask it to do something, and the mediator is actually going to notify all of the other enemies or the players. And the next videos will be I will be reviewing the book Code Complete 2, which I actually have somewhere. If you're not sure what the Code Complete 2 book is, it is this pretty huge book. That's like, I don't know, 800 or 900 pages. But it's really a great book. It was recommended by CodeMonkey in one of his tutorials. So that is the first programming book I have read, and I really enjoyed it. I have learned a ton of stuff from it. So in the future I'm definitely planning to be reading more programming books, because I think reading books is probably the second best way to improve. The first way is obviously to do it, experiment, program. And I would say the second way is the reading. It is mandatory. The Bootstrapper tons a lot of headaches and works good to organize wherever you use singletons or not. Can be great to help change level approach. Yeah, Bootstrapper, I haven't really used them much, but for the setup and all that, it definitely sounds like a good thing for bigger projects. Lol, did you finish reading? Yeah, I read all of that. You know, some parts were not that interesting to me. Still, I feel that you should read even the stuff that you are not really interested in, because it can still give you a lot of information just about programming in general. Because when programming, you definitely can focus just on one kind of part of the programming. So you can focus, let's say, on object-oriented or on development of games. But I think that it is still useful to know, let's say, about how the code works kind of on the lower level. How the assembly code works, or how the machine code, numbers, all of that stuff. Because yeah, once you know just more information that's from broader perspective, you can kind of start to connect it together and understand the programming even more. And yeah, so for example, what I learned was that when you are starting the project, you should write some requirements, which is in turn going to save you a lot of time. Because if you define the goals and overall how the project should look in the beginning, you will save yourself a lot of time. The reason for that is because once you start the project without the requirements, so you have no idea what the project is going to be about, or maybe you have some dream in your head that you are thinking could work, you start working on the game, you realize it's not going to work this way, I will change it. You are like halfway done through the project, then you realize again I should change it, you go back, again you realize you should change something, and if you are changing it too much, then you're not really going to make progress. So if you decide how the project is going to look like in the end, and you decide about all of that in the start, then you don't really have to think about what you are doing much, because it is already planned. You just execute what you have planned. The same thing with pseudocode. If before you start coding, you think about how to do it, it's going to take you some time to think about it, come up with the right solution, but then as you start programming, it's really super simple, because you just follow the plan. Yeah, scope. That's one of the main things that you will need to manage. If you don't manage the scope of the project, it's probably not going to go anywhere, but it's one of the hardest things to do. Even I cannot manage it. So, back to the Udemy course that we have. We have the outlines, and let's make the function. So here, from the material, we want to set the color. It's hard to resist, yeah. Always when you have some great idea, you just want to make the dream game, the massive multiplayer online, and then you figure out it's a lot harder than you thought before. So what am I going to do? I should search for the material. It's called the outline color, but I have to check that in the shader graph. So I have a texture tint as well, which I should probably be changing to. So I would need another color for the texture tint. For now, let's just change the outline. That's really going to be it. So outline color, we have the thickness color. What is that? The color property has new updates. Maintains if you update the color property. I don't think I want to update anything. So outline color, the type of that is just color. So let's see if we have a function on the material to set color. We have, that's great. Outline color, the value is going to be the highlight color, just like so. And the selecting of the character, we also have a function try select character, which is going to work great for selecting of the enemies. This one just does the raycast, checks whether it is the enemy, and just tells us, gives us the character-based script and the boolean whether it is the enemy. So this one we'll be able to utilize. This one is just for selecting the player characters. And I'm not sure. I just get rid of the errors, so we want to use the green color for the highlight, and here as well, just like that. And for the enemies, we'll still need to check for the leftmost button, and we only want to select the enemy when we have selected some action. This is going to require us to select some enemy, because when we select the action to switch the position, we only can switch position with the player control characters. So, and when blocking, we should also not be selecting any character. So I'm thinking whether for the scriptable objects that I have for the actions, maybe here I should define whether it requires you to click on some enemy or whether it requires you to click on the character itself. Yeah, that's probably the way to do it, because the actions itself define the behavior, or the actions maybe also the function perform action, which receives the action type, but here should definitely not be checking for that. Yeah, probably we should do it in the character selector. Yeah, the way we have it right now would probably also not work for the shield, let's say, that we have, because the shield, we are just going to select it, and yeah, that should probably work. Yes, I guess that for the scriptable object we are going to add a boolean. Maybe it could be an enum, because right now we, in some cases, for some actions, we want to select the enemy. In some cases, we want to select some player character. And in some cases, we don't really want to select anything. So if we make the enum for it, then in the action selector, when we select the action, then yeah, let's maybe first get to the part of selecting the action. That's really the function that's going to then trigger everything else. So we should know when we select an action. For this, oh, I see that for the action button, I'm adding a listener to perform the action on the character, but this is not what should happen when we click on the action, I think. Because when we select the action, so we click the button, it should not yet perform the action on the character. That should happen only after we, let's say, select another character, so on. So this listener should probably not be here, and instead we'll have some function that can likely be private, we'll see. Always you should start with private and then see if you need to make it public. So on action selected, this one we should call when you click the action button. So let's just add this in here for now, comment it, we'll see if we need it later. So we'll add a listener that's going to call the function on action selected when you click the button. I think it would be nice, it would definitely be nice to know which action we selected. And this one, we should be able to pass into the function directly since we are adding the listener, and when adding it we know which action that is. So let's pass in the character action as O, character action is O, and again we'll probably have to use the lambda function because inside of the add listener function you cannot really use parameters, at least I think so. If you use the action, it just doesn't work this way, you can only assign some function. So we can assign anonymous function that's in turn going to call the function we need. So call the action selected and pass in the action. Maybe let's call it action here as well. Okay, so when we set the button, it's going to call this one. And when we set the action, if we set the shield, let's say, then we can straight perform the action on the character. If we set the attacking, we should select some enemy. So there are different things that should happen when we set the action. Yeah, this is the thing that I'm not sure whether it is a good way to be making the course in this way, because for now, or till now, I've been mostly just preparing some logic that's not really related to the design patterns I want to use there. Because inside of this project I want to use the command, which we haven't used yet, state we also haven't used yet. We haven't used any of these patterns, maybe we use the observer for the buttons and that, but it's not really the main example in which I want to showcase that. So that's the reason why I'm not sure whether to continue the course like this, because there's just a lot of setup code we need to do in order to get to the patterns itself. So yeah, it's just something I'm not sure about, because I've been reading the reviews for some of the Udemy courses. I can even show you I'll show you that. If you just go to Udemy, this one, there's really low competition, which is quite nice. If we search for game development or design patterns, I found only 2 or 3 courses. Those 2. Yeah, just those 2. Really, there's not much more. I mean, there are those other nice courses. MVC architecture. Yeah, this is just about the MVC, not really about more patterns, I think. So we have those 2, and the main bad reviews, they were just about taking too long to set up everything, and about the course being too simple, not explained enough, which those courses are probably well made. Always you'll find some students that just didn't like the course, especially if so many people use it, or so many people have bought the course. We take a look at the worst reviews. Yeah, this is just saying that it is too simple. Time filler, yeah. Yeah, they were saying that just too much time was spent preparing to actually teach about the concepts. Yeah, I'm not sure which one of these options to go with, because I think that it would be really useful for people to learn about how to use the patterns in a real example, because that's usually what you don't learn. Usually you learn the basic implementation, kind of in the simplest example, but then you may not know how to use it for something more complex. So yeah, I may go with the approach of showing it on a really simple, trivial example, and then combining the patterns together. That may be actually the best. That first I would talk about the 5 patterns in a really simple way, just an example that would take you, 5-10 minutes, and then I could get straight to implementing it in here. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Maybe you have some opinion about that, whether you think it's better if we just use or if I teach you about using the patterns individually. So I use one pattern on an example that's really suited for it. I use another pattern on another example. So you'd have 20 examples, which would be all pretty simple. There would be not much setup. We could get straight into the pattern. Or the second approach, which is about building a bigger project, bigger game, and using the patterns inside of it. So you'll learn more about the realistic way, how to implement the patterns, how to connect them together, and that's pretty much about it. So if you have any suggestions about that, I would love to hear them. This is the main thing that I wanted to ask you today. Whether you like the simpler approach better or the more complex. I think that one of you have already mentioned that the kind of 2-in-1 approach would be better, that we would do the simple example and the more complicated as well. Just my 2 cents, there are probably more beginners than advanced users. Yeah, it's quite apparent that there are more positive reviews than negative, so just choose your audience. Yeah, I agree, there are probably more beginners than advanced users. There are more positive yeah, it's right that there are definitely more positive reviews. I was just thinking that reading through the negative reviews will tell me what I should avoid, So if I see what some people didn't like about their course, I could learn from that. But yeah, certainly, yeah, I think that the audience I have here on YouTube is more advanced. Or at least I hope so. I'm not sure. Yeah, because generally I'm speaking about more complex topics. Still, I wasn't going too deep. So maybe you're right that if I have the audience here on YouTube that likes more advanced tutorials, I probably should go over the advanced way. Yeah, beginners, there'll be bigger audience, but my audience on YouTube is probably more made of the advanced programmers, or, well, I'm not really advanced as well, but more of intermediate, not the totally beginners, because that's what I was making at start on the YouTube. I was making some bold tutorials and all of that simple stuff, and I have gradually transitions to something more complex. Well, anyways, enough of talking. Let's proceed further. So when we say the action, we need to decide whether we need to select some character, select some enemy, and so on. So for this, we'll likely need some boolean here, or some enum. That would probably work better. So let's make public enum the action type, and we may also need how would we call that? Action type, and we will have I would also call it action type, but that's probably not going to work. Maybe completion, maybe action condition. That could probably work. Action condition. So the condition to actually start the action could be no or none condition. Then we can have select enemy, and let's say select player, or we can do select enemy character and select player character. So that's something you can then also set in the scriptable object. So action condition, okay, and when we say the action, then we'll either if there's no condition, we can jump straight to the character and we are going to perform the action. But if we need to select some character and so on, then we could probably utilize the character selector. So yeah, let's add the logic here. It will be probably a switch statement for now. It's probably not the best way to do it, but it's going to be simple. So we have the condition. Let's do it like this. Case condition none. If it is none, it's going to be simple. We'll just execute the action directly, or just add it into the action invoker. It's going to be pretty much this. So we need a reference to the character base. This one we should probably also pass in, say, parameter. Okay, character base, character, here pass the character base. Okay, let's call it the same way. Perform the action on it, break. That's about it. And if we need select enemy, then we'll need a bit more logic for that. So if we need to select some enemy, we'll utilize the function in the character selector, where we have the function select character. I think here we could also have a function wait for selection of character. We do something like this. Wait until character selected. I'm not sure if I'm not overcomplicating it too much. It would be nice to be able to reuse some of this code, I think. Hi Jack Sparrow, that's a nice name. Yeah, I would like to reuse some of this code. On player character selected, this definitely has to be just for the player. I think I should be able to reuse some of that code. Select character. Wait until character selected. Here, what could we do? When we want to wait until character is selected, we would probably need to know whether it should be enemy or the player. So is enemy. And then I'm pretty sure we should be able to reuse some of that code. Before that, here, okay, we have a reference to character selector, great. So let's say wait until character selected. Is enemy true? We need an enemy. So it's going to call that function. And maybe how many years you're into game development? Oh, about 7, I think, if I check my Unity Hub. You can see when I created the license. Hopefully there's not any sensitive info. Licenses 2017, which is about 7 years. It's quite long, but I've started going more in depth and learning more about the complex features about 2 years ago. I think that 2 years ago I didn't even know about classic programming, or I just couldn't do it that way. I was using the Visual Bolt scripting, so I think that in the last 2 years I have really moved forward a lot. That's, you can actually see the progress on the channel I have, because there, one of the older videos I was making, they were really about the simple stuff. This was the Bolt 1 year ago. I'm not so sure. January, so about 1.5 years since I have started learning C#. So I think I've made pretty great progress. Wait, you started since you were 11? Yeah, I started. I just had some ideas for games, but at that time there was really nothing serious. First, I assume you just turned, soon. In about 5 days, I will turn 18. So that's why I'm preparing the Udemy course now, And I started Unity when I was 11. It was just with my one friend. We wanted to make some, 3D, super complicated game like 7 Days to Die, but with robots. So that was really something that I would not even do today. Still, I haven't really created any final game, but we wanted to make that game. So I started doing some stuff. I was even learning in JavaScript. I didn't really make much progress. I was doing some modeling in Blender, but the game really didn't go that well. So then I had multiple projects with my other friends. I know that once I had a team of, I don't know, 7 people, but it was still, we were still just kids and we were trying it. It was too hard. So then I was developing games with many people, but usually it really didn't work out. So now I'm just on my own. Because, I can manage my own pace, I can learn what I want, work on what I want, and in the past 2 years I've learned much stuff, probably because of the YouTube, because I want to teach you something, so first I need to know about it as well. So back to the code, what are we doing here? On action selected, we wait until the character is selected, and here we are waiting until the character is selected. I wonder whether this could... whether this should be an async function, so that here... Oh, I think I'm overcomplicating it a bit. So it would be nice if here we could say await, so you'd wait until it finds the character. It would be just waiting. And then you do something. Or I'm also thinking about passing an action as for what you want to do into the function itself. Yeah, the await would probably make it a bit more complex, since you'd also need to take the time into account. Wait until character selected, and if I would add the action here, I think that when you have the action you also can pass in some code you want to run. So if I pass in some function like this, yeah, this is not going to work. We cannot pass it in like this. I know there was a way to do it. I think... Well, I know that with the... They have something with the listeners. They have the unit action, which allows you to assign some function. And I'm not sure... It's a delegate, void. Yeah, if you would pass in void delegate, it should pretty much be it. But we are not sure whether it's going to be... Well, that can only use voids, so... If we would use... I haven't used delegates in a long time. I think I would first need to define the delegate. Oh, let's use the unit event or the unit action, which should allow us... Let's just action to pass in some code we want to execute once the character is selected. And as you are waiting, I guess that still this function will have to be async, because here when we select the action, we select it only once, and the code should be checking for it continuously until we have selected the character. So still, I think that this function should be async, so we can run the while loop, wait for one frame, and pretty much make our own update inside this function. So let's do while true pretty much, or we'll have some condition, character selected, it should be false. So while character is not selected, then let's just keep running. On each iteration we are going to wait, so wait task.yield to wait for one frame. Wait for one frame, check whether we have selected the character. So we can run the try select character, out character base, character base, we have to use that one. Character base outpool is enemy. Okay, I already have one like that. Is enemy. Wait until character selected. Let's say try select character is enemy. This one should be named differently. Let's say find enemy. So then if we select the character and is enemy is equal to find enemy, if the is enemy is true and we want to find the enemy, then it's going to be true, right? So we want to find the enemy, we found enemy, that's equals, so the condition is true. And I think we should have, oh, that should be it. So if we get the character and it is the type of character we want to find, then let's say that character is selected. Just going to exit the loop. Then we can probably just run the action. So once we exit the loop, maybe it's going to work well. And if we do action just like that, it's going to run the code that we want it to run. So here we say wait until character selected, and then maybe let's use anonymous function for now. Later we can make it into an actual function. Then we want to do this again, perform the action. So we are repeating a bit of code, but later we can try to let's keep it as it is. So we wait until the character is selected. We are saying that we want to select enemy in case that we are searching for the enemy. And if you find it, it should perform the action. So in here, we run the action. We don't really need to do anything else, I think. Well, I think we may be able to reuse this function here. I think we should be able to do that. But before that, we also need to highlight the enemies. Or do we need to highlight them? Because the player should be highlighted. We have the player selected and we need to know which one we have. But if we have the player highlighted, we click on the enemy, it's going to add the action, but then we should not really see the highlight. Because, you know, we just are in the game. We select one of the characters, we need to know which one we currently have selected. But if then we click on the enemy, it means that we say attack this enemy, deselect the player. So I don't think that we need to highlight the enemy, which would make it quite simpler for us. I don't really think we need to, because we are just playing. We select one of the characters, click here, and even if we would want to highlight the enemy, you would need to add some delay, so it would be highlighted for some time. Because as soon as you click the enemy, it's going to pretty much assign the action into the command invoker. And yeah, so I don't think that we need to be having, that we need to have the highlighting for the enemies. So highlight color green. Yeah, now I probably can just hardcode the color for the highlighting, since I know hardcoding isn't good, but are we really going to be changing it? Well, why not? Let's make it here. So that we are so that we are keeping the good practices. So highlight color green, and here we are not actually going to be using the highlight character for the enemies, because really we don't need to highlight them. So let's get rid of this. Let's just use the highlight color green, and here remove this, remove this. Okay, so that will make it simpler. Finally, I think we should be able to reuse this. Use this instead of here. Also on start, we could say that we want to be waiting until we select some character. But then once we select the character, we probably need to call the function recursively, because we really want to be able to select character at any time. Or whatever, we can probably keep it as it is. Should select character. If it is enemy, hit this one. On enemy character selected. Yeah, this is something I was probably trying to do before, I just forgot about it. Where is this function? On enemy. Oh, I see. I was trying to make it in a different way. It's something I probably should have noticed a bit sooner. I see that I have the action where I'm passing the... I'm wondering whether this way it would be better. Because here I pretty much already had the logic for that. But still... I think this way it would not really be easier. Because... yeah, we would have the action, it would be called, it could call something in the action selector, but... I don't think it would work better. Because you'd call the action, and that would trigger only once something in the action selector. And in the action selector, when you say the action, that happens only once. So those two kind of pauses would happen not at the same time, which could really mess it up, I think. Because still we need one function that's continuously running, either checking for the action or checking for selection of the player. If you have just two actions, they are never going to happen at the same time. And yeah, surely we could make it the other way around. So we set the enemy, start running some action in this script that should be waiting until we select something, but I think this way it is clear, so let's remove this code. We don't really need those two actions. I don't think I'm using them anywhere. I'm just calling them, so let's remove that. We don't need to call them, and we can shorten this to if is not enemy. Let's add this one. We can get rid of this, and I'm pretty sure selected character is equal to selected character base. This can really happen. And oh, that's weird. That's why do I have not enemy here? Okay, that's going to make it even simpler. That's why I love refactoring. It's going to usually clean the code a lot. So yeah, there's a shortcut for this. Okay. Highlight character, selected character. I hope that the stream is still running. It seems to be great. So selected character is not equal to null. Yeah, that makes sense. I probably have to keep this in here. Highlight, highlight. selected character. Okay. So this is a bit shorter now. That's nice. And yeah. So wait until the character, then run the action, which in turn is then going to perform the action. Okay. So we have written a lot of code. We haven't done really any testing. So I probably should have done this a bit earlier, but let's come up with a way to test this. So just this simple debug when the character performs the action. So let's say this, or we can just say GameObject.name. GameObject.name is performing an action of type, and say action type. Okay. Yeah, these parentheses is another trick I have discovered quite recently. I have seen some people using it even before. I just totally didn't understand it because I never looked into how actually to use this. But it's really a great way how you can add some variables into the string. I guess you already know about this trick, but the normal way that you would probably do it would be you would have the name, which even I think is terrible for performance doing it this way, because adding these strings, I'm pretty sure, is quite an expensive operation. I'm not sure. Or maybe it was just with the debugs something. But yeah, this way, it's just so annoying to be writing the debugs in this way, that you're adding it, you need to make spaces, new quotation marks. With the curly braces and the dollar sign, it's just much easier to insert some variable into some string. With 2 more errors. Oh, on player selected, on character selected. Okay. Yeah, those are the actions we had. I guess that here I wanted to use the observer pattern, so I should probably keep at least this action, but we don't need the on enemy selected because we have the function that's going to be waiting until we say the enemy. So let's add the action back, public action, on character select. I think, no, that's not correct. It should be like this. And just call it here. Do we call it after selecting the character? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let's do it this way. And this one on character deselect. Yeah, I totally forgot I had this action as well. I'm not really using it, so this is what happens when you work multiple times through the day, or you just have some pauses. It's for when you are working on the project, you just forget everything that you made. And that's another reason why you should be writing clean code, because if you write clean and readable code, then you can read it easily. Which is another thing that the book Code Complete 2 taught me, that you are reading the code much more often than you are writing it, because you are writing the code just once and reading it multiple times. Okay, selected character, character base. I cannot talk and write code. That's usually what I don't do on the videos. I just prepare the code before and then I just paste it in. Or I sometimes write it, but most of the time I'm not writing it whilst talking. Yeah, this is some error I have been getting recently. I have no idea what it is. Objects are trying to be loaded during a domain backup. This is not allowed as it will lead to undefined behavior. And it seems to be coming from graph object, which I would guess are these graphs. Maybe you experienced this error sometime. I have been trying to Google it. I haven't really tried the cause of it. But it's really not stopping me from testing the project, so I should just clear it. And I found out that after restarting Unity, kind of fixed, but it doesn't seem to be nothing serious. So hopefully we can test it now. Another error that doesn't really matter. So we select this guy. I didn't change the color for the selection thing. So it is here. Let's make it nice. I'm not sure which color I had before, but let's try something like that. Another error, I don't really care. So select it, actions still work. So if you try to attack, it's performing action. It should only perform it after I select the enemy. If I say this one, switch position. Oh, I know. I just didn't set the action conditions here. So defend, it's going to be none. Or maybe we can defend one of the player characters. Melee, we will select enemy character, ranged enemy character, and switch position. Again, player character. Let's see now. Select the player, select some action. Yeah, nothing is happening just yet. Nothing is happening even after I select it. We should also somehow show the player which action he has currently chosen. But why doesn't this work? Maybe I cannot even select the enemies for some reason. Enemies, they have the collider. Yeah, they are not in the correct layer. Player character, I'm not sure if they should be in the player character layer. Yeah, they probably should not be. Or maybe they even can stay in the layer, the same layer as all the player characters, because really, yeah, we are checking using the layer, but then we are also checking whether it is the enemy using the component we can get, because all the enemies have the enemy controller, so it should be fine if I assign them on the same layer. Player controller. Why did the music stop? Oh, it's already end. 1 hour and 13 minutes. Okay, let's run it again. I quite like the vlog no copyright music, even though I recently also started using some different music. But this one is quite nice. So set this one, set this one. It seems to work, even though I haven't really clicked on the Sojo, which makes sense because we have no check for that. So here, while the character is not selected, and we also need to add the input. So this is a pretty long condition. I'm not sure what good way would be to get rid of it, because adding more if statements inside of each other is definitely not a good idea. So I guess just put it on a new line and keep it in one condition. Maybe like this would be better. Or we could just create a whole function for that. Or maybe a boolean for that, but then still it's pretty complicated expression. Whatever, there is no need to overthink it. Let's just keep it as it is. Yeah, another weird error, we don't care, like this one. If I click on the enemy, yeah, it's not doing anything, and if I select this one, if I click on the player, it's changing, which I guess is fine. If I click on it again, I select the enemy, yep, it's performing the action of type attack. I'm not sure why it happened twice. Yeah, I guess that if I click it multiple times, yeah, it's not going to happen multiple times. But it's also something we should try to fix. But it seems to be working. Yep. Okay. we have that. It's quite a lot of code even for such simple features. I'm trying to make it clean as possible. But there is a ton of space for improvement still. And still we haven't even looked at any of the design patterns. Maybe just a bit of the actions, so the observer pattern. Still, yeah, I'm not sure. Because there's really just too much setup that we need to make even before we actually start working on the patterns itself. Maybe I'm just overcomplicating the code. Because there may be a better way to do it. I mean, I still have 100 lines of code. 56 here, some code here, some code here, here. Yeah. I mean, the problem is not really for me to write the code. It's something I can definitely do. I can come up with all of that. But then it needs to have some value for the people who are going to buy the course. So yeah, I mean, I could also kind of conceptualize the course to be about game development, some good practices, and design patterns. Yeah, I'm just not sure about that. Because who is going to want to do this much setup just to learn about the patterns? I'm not sure if anyone. Maybe I could just make one course about learning the patterns. So one example for one pattern, some simple examples, and then I could make some course where we could practically or use all of the patterns in a practical example. Pretty much what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I think that this is maybe just too ambitious for the first course, making those 4 projects. I think I'll start with something simpler, so I will just teach each pattern on one example, and it's going to be more in-depth than what we do on the YouTube. So I'm going to teach it to you on a simple example, and I'm going to add some extra features to it. That's what I think is going to be the best thing to do right now. Still, I will keep this project, and we'll see what's going to happen with it in the future. Maybe I will make some turn-based game course, but it takes just a lot of time to make the courses. Even though I haven't really created even one, but I can already see that it would take me multiple months to do so, which I'm pretty okay with. I can put the hard work into it and make it work in the end. I just think I should start with something a bit simpler than these 4 complex projects. Is there even anyone? Oh, there are 3 people watching me. Maybe I should continue. I think it's already long enough stream. I see that we have 100 minutes already. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I think it was pretty good for the first stream. We have had multiple viewers here join us. If you have any final questions, or if you want to tell me a bit about yourself, about the projects you work on, or give me any suggestions, what should I change, what videos you want to see, anything you would want to tell me, then feel free to share it right now. And yeah, maybe I will make some live streams in the future. It was pretty fun. It was also a bit tiring. Just talking and focusing on the code is quite hard. But it has been really nice. Let's put things out there, see what works. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is probably what I will do. Just start with something simpler that I can release. And that's it. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. To you, Locos Stratos, I'm not sure how to read it. Thank you for commenting, talking with me. Jack Sparrow, yeah, thanks to everyone who was here, chatting with me. It was really nice, really fun session. Yeah, thank you as well for watching, and maybe see you some time in the future.